William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Well, today I'm with my motorcycle group called the Hicate, and I don't have my patches on, but some of the girls do over there. They're the Femme Fatales, and we're doing the Day of the Dead ride, the Dia de los Muertos. I'm not sure if my pronunciation is perfectly right. But we're celebrating the Day of the Dead, and of course we have to stop by here because, you know, with the Day of the Dead is got its roots in the Hispanic community. So this is along our route, and they're getting their faces painted, and then we're headed towards Denton, who also has a big Day of the Dead celebration.
Wonderful.
All right.
Right. You got a sidecar?
I'm sorry?
You got a sidecar for me?
I wish I did.
Two Hats Publishing. Tell me everything I need to know. What's your first name?
Linda.
Tell me about your artwork. It looks great.
It's a tradition that I have for years and years that I learned from my grandmother.
Wonderful.
I grew up with her, so this is her tradition, and I like to carry it on.
Can you explain some of the stuff we're looking at?
Yes. Basically, it's, you want to remember the ones you loved and they're no longer with you. So in my piece, for example, I have my grandmother. The picture in the blue is my grandmother with the family. So I'm dedicating it to her always. On the left, you can see Jesse Tafaya, Mr. Tafaya.
Okay.
That's his picture. Yes. Okay. And these are friends. One of my friends' mom and dad that passed already. My friend's mom, Florita, from Zapata, Texas. She passed 2-3 years ago, and she was very dear to me. This little kid, I worked with him, and he had a car crash. In 2014, he was only 19, and it was really, really, really disturbing. So I like to remember him this time. This is my friend Irene's, the mayor's mom and dad. And this is Mr. Sanguino. Mr. Sanguino is one of my good friends from Merida's dad, and he passed last week. I believe it was on Wednesday, and his funeral was on Thursday, and I couldn't attend, so I like to also dedicate it to him. This is my friend Lucia Ramirez from Zapata, Texas also. She passed away in July, and she was also one of my dear friends' mom. So I'm remembering her too. Then I have one of my good friends, Colombian lady, right here. She was visiting Colombia, and she went to get her hair fixed and her nails done and everything, and she was crushed by a bus. And so she didn't make it back. So I'm also remembering her here. And behind are a couple of other friends that belong to an international group. And a lady Mati Vargas, she passed away also. She had cancer. So these are like basically the pictures that you can see. But I also have like uncles and aunts and other friends, that I may not have pictures, or I didn't have time to put them all here. And the background, as you can see, is dedicated to the 43 kids in Mexico that disappeared. I needed closure because that hasn't happened yet for the family. And so the 43 boxes that you see represent each one of them. So with that, I hope that I have peace in my heart. Then you kind of like set it up with the idea of what did they like to do. My grandmother, for example, I love the time when she would sit down with us, open a bottle of Coke, and share with the four of us that were living with her. So there's the Coca-Colas. My grandfather also loved Coca-Cola, so then he can have his own. And my friend, the one from Colombia, was very fancy lady, so here's her fan for her. She also loved to be all fixed up, so here's the lipstick for her. so she can do that. My grandmother would not go out without having earrings on. A woman should always have earrings on, so here they are for her. So you can just like think, what did they like? What was it like? What was their favorite thing to do? At home, I could do the same, but I do real food. I prepare their favorite food. Basically, this season is for tamales, is for mole, and all the families that surround you share. You take it to somebody else, the neighbor's house, your tamales, and they give you theirs, and bread, and all that stuff. So this is the traditional pan de muertos, which is the bread, the round one, and candies, because I know there's kids that I know that are no longer with us. You can do little toys, or you can just set up a different altar just for the kids. Chocolates. Here's some tissue paper, because I know that somebody's going to be sweating out there, right? My grandma also loved the rebosos. So this is a rebozo, and I have one for her here. She always had to have one. So basically, that's what it is. And this is a tradition that is from Querétaro and the Huasteca. I am part of the Huasteca, or we're so close to the Huasteca. So this is the way that we prepare it. Now, we have sometimes the arch, and then the fruit and all that, you hang it on it, but it's difficult because you can't nail, you can't do this, you can't do that, and you can't have the real fruit and food. So basically that's the tradition.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, my name is Jesse Tafala Jr., and I'm at the Latino Cultural Center for the Day of the Dead exhibit. And what I've done is an altar in honor and a tribute to my grandmother, who's passed, been over 10 years. But she was a seamstress, and she worked very hard in her life to raise a family of 5 children and 25 grandchildren. What I like to do is just talk about what I did here today as an altar. This is the original Singer sewing machine that she had in her house. She was a seamstress and worked for Herbert Marcus, who is the father of Stanley Marcus of the Neiman Marcus fame. And she was actually built dresses on a sewing machine like this in the factory that was in the West End district. She had this one at her home where she did some of the work from work, and then also always made clothes for us, for her children, her grandchildren, and mostly for me, because I was always husky as a young man, hem my pants for every time we went to school year for new clothes. But what I do is have a picture of her and my grandfather, who are no longer with us, and also the family that she raised back here, beside of the kids, her kids, and my grandparents. And a little story about Herbert Marcus, who she worked for, again, a part of the Neiman Marcus fame. She was the actual seamstress and built the dresses for them. Again, there was a sweatshop, or sewing factory in the West End district. And she was there, I thank God, from the 1960s or even the late 50s until she retired in maybe about 81 during that time. So she was there for a long time as a seamstress, worked Monday through Saturday at that particular store. So this was brought from her house that I kept after her passing, of the dresses that she made and the stuff that she did for the family. So I'm very proud of where she was as a seamstress, because that helped maintain the house that she lived on Vanderbilt, especially after moving in a year after her husband, my grandfather, had passed away, and again raising a family of 5. She's been the matriarch of our family. I miss her. My cousins all miss her. They'll be excited. I'm glad to hear that they're going to see this sewing machine that they have fond memories of, and hope to entice them to come to the exhibit and see all the altars during this time. So I love your grandma. I wish you were here. You had a big influence on my life, and someday we will meet again. Thank you. Okay.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.